All right, we're continuing with our review packet, the third 6 weeks. Third 6 weeks. Exam number 1. Review. The first video we did problems 1 through 8. Now we will do 9 through the remainder. Problem number 9 says, here is some pattern. Here is a pattern of shaded white squares and dark squares. Which rule relates S is the number of shaded squares, to W, the number of white squares? Well, in this problem, they don't make it exactly clear what they want the independent and the dependent variable to be. But typically, when they say relates variable this to variable this, the first one mentioned will be the dependent. We'll often say relates y to x. So in this case, S we're going to take to be the dependent variable, the output. And W we'll take to be the independent variable, the input. If you were unclear which one to use where, it doesn't matter, provided that you get the numbers correct. We would be able to identify which function rule would work. Alright, in figure 1 we have 1, 2, 3 white squares and 1 shaded. In figure 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 white squares and 2 shaded. In figure 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 white squares and 3 shaded. 3 shaded. Now the question is, how are we getting from the white to the shaded here? Well, 3 went to 1, 6 went to 2, 9 went to 3. I hope you can see we've simply divided each one of our whites by 3 to get to our shaded. Another way to say that is we're multiplying by 1/3 times 1/3. If we take our number of white squares and multiply it by 1/3, it will produce our shaded. And that's what C says. Input some number of white squares, multiply by 1/3, and the output will be the shaded. Number 9 is C. Number 10. Which expression is equivalent to? Well, this is much like number 1 and 2 from the previous video. It's simply a combining like terms. Remember, like terms we define as same variable, same exponent. Same variable, same exponent. So here we're subtracting the second parentheses. We need to distribute that negative. The first parentheses I can just drop. 3x squared plus 2x. Now subtracting this parentheses, positive x squared becomes minus x squared. Negative 3x becomes plus 3x. Now we can simply combine our like terms. Same variable x, same exponent squared, x squared. 3x squared is like negative 1x squared. Also, x to the first is like x to the first. 2x is like 3x. I can now combine. 3x squared minus 1x squared is 2x squared. It has to be the same, and it stays the same. 2x plus 3x is 5x. The correct answer on number 10 is B. Alright, problem number 11. Which equation describes the data in the table below? Well, we just learned how to do this today on the calculator. We can take this data and find the correct equation. I'm going to show how we can find the slope by hand again. Remember, slope is change in y over change in x. So a change in y, well, let's say from 9 to 3, I could simply subtract 9 minus 3. And from negative 2 to 1, I can subtract negative 2 to 1. 9 minus 3 yielding 6. Negative 2 minus 1, negative 3. 6 divided negative 3 is a negative 2. So our slope in this case is going to be negative 2. Slope is the coefficient of x. Both b and c have that. It won't be a or d. But now let's use the method that we learned today in class. Okay. From our home screen, we go New Document. I don't want to save any previous document. I select 4, List and Spreadsheets. Title this X. Title this Y. And now I will put the X values in the first column, negative 7, negative 2, 1, and 3. I will put the Y values in the second column, 19, 9, 3, and negative 1. Once I got them in there, I will place the cursor on a piece of data. I will hit Control I for Insert. 5 for Data and Statistics. Now I can come down to my x-axis, select x, come to my y-axis, select y, and it'll pop my points. I can see negative 7 pairs with 19, negative 7, 19. Negative 2 pairs with 9 is there. 1 pairs with 3, negative 3 pairs with negative 1. Clearly I can see the slope is negative. Now we need the equation of this line. Menu, 4 for Analyze, 6 Regression. We're going to perform a linear regression. 1 Show Linear, that's our mx plus b form. Here we see y equals negative 2x plus 5. Indeed, 11 is B. 11 is B. Popping them down at this time. Okay, with that process, you can not only answer number 11, but also question 22 asks for what is the slope? Well, we can simply type these in and find the slope. Equals 3x. Which of the following will be perpendicular? Well, hopefully you remember from our class discussion. Perpendicular lines the symbol we use for perpendicular in math is an upside down T, and perpendicular means intersect to form a 90-degree angle, a right angle. Perpendicular lines have negative reciprocal slopes. And what this term negative reciprocal means is a flipped and opposite signed fraction. For example, if our line has a slope of 2/3, the slope of a perpendicular line would be negative 3/2. Notice the fraction went from 2/3 to 3/2 and went from positive to negative. Adding these notes to your packet. Well, in our case, we're given the line y equals 3x. I'm going to call this y1. So our slope here, I'll call slope 1, is 3. The coefficient of x is the slope. Well, 3 can also be written as 3/1. Any whole number can be written over 1. Well, the slope of a perpendicular line to that, I'm going to call that m2. we would invert this fraction, 1 over 3, and we would take the opposite, negative. So we're looking for a line that has a slope of negative 1/3. A has a slope of 1/3. B has a slope of negative 1/3. C has a slope of negative 3. D has a slope of positive 3. Number 12, the correct answer is B. Let's type both of those in our grapher and take a look and verify that they are perpendicular. All right. I hit tab. In F1, I'm entering in 3x. Enter. There's my line, slope of 3, positive. In F2, tab, I will enter 5 subtract 1/3 x. And there, it doesn't quite look like they're exactly perpendicular. You can see that that angle is slightly obtuse. But remember, our zoom is rectangular here. If we select menu, 4 for window, zoom, scrolling up, select B for zoom square. Now we can see these lines are indeed perfectly perpendicular. You can see it forms a right angle right alongside my paper. 12 is B. Problem 13. A pattern of dots is shown below. Which equation can be used to find the number of dots in the nth stage? Well, again, I'm going to make a table. My input is going to be my stage number. X and Y, input, output. My input is going to be my stage number. My output is going to be how many dots. For instance, stage 1 has 1 dot. Stage 1 has 1 dot. This is stage number. Stage number. Stage 2 has 4 dots, and so forth. Create this table and see which one would indeed have this output. Number 14 says solve for M. We've been working warm-up problems this week much like this one. I'll help you get started. We'll distribute this subtraction. 4M, positive 3 becomes minus 3. Minus 2M becomes plus 2M equals 21. I think you can go from there. When we're subtracting in parentheses, we change both signs inside. It says, what is the parent function for the graph below? Well, you may remember we've studied one parent function. It was the parent linear function. Linear parent function, parent linear function, same term. The parent linear is y equals x. It's the most basic form of our linear function. This has a slope of 1 and a y-intercept of 0. So the correct answer on number 15 is A. Number 16. Given the function f of x equals negative 2x plus 3, find f of negative 2. We're simply going to take this value, negative 2, substitute it in place of x, and find what the output is. We want to find what f of negative 2 will map with. Another way to say this is when x is negative 2, what is the y value? Take negative 2, substitute, do our multiplication and addition, and you will find the output. Problem number 17. Which inequality best represents the graph below? Well, we've been working on graphing inequalities the last couple days. First, note that it is a solid line. When it's a solid line, the graph is a solid line, the inequalities will have an equal to involved. It will be a greater than equal to, or it will be a less than equal to. Contrast that to whenever it's a dashed line. A dashed line, the graph looks like this. It will not have the equal to part. It will be a strict greater than or less than. Alright. Since this is indeed a solid line, we know that we will need the equal to. So that will automatically eliminate A and B. We are choosing now between C and D. Well, we see they both have a y-intercept of 2, and indeed our line does have a y-intercept of 2. The question is our slope a negative 1/2 or is it a negative 1? Well, remember, slope is rise over run. So we can simply work from 2 points on our line over here. And you can probably see that this is a slope of negative 1. It's over 1, down 1, over 1, down 1, over 1, down 1. We go right 1, and we go down 1. Negative 1 divided by 1 is indeed a negative 1. Our run was 1 to the right. Our rise is 1 down. Again, we look at that. Right 1, down 1. Right 1, down 1. Our slope is negative 1. So the correct answer is D. We can also graph this inequality and see that it does match up with our picture here. Okay, I want to delete my previous. Menu, 1 actions, 4 delete all. Yes, delete everything. Tab. Negative x plus 2. Now I want to collect the inequality that I need. I hit delete. That's a greater than or equal to. That's selection 5. And you'll see it's going to produce that graph right there. This looks the same as that. Again, our square zoom would make this a little more similar. Zoom, square, B. And those do indeed look the same. Alright. Number 19, just like number 18, the dashed line tells us some information, and then we could graph those in the grapher. Since we've already done number 17, you should be able to do number 19. Problem 18. What is the slope of the function? Well, we know slope-intercept form, is y equals mx plus b. Slope is the coefficient of x. Therefore, what we need to do is solve for y. I'm going to do one like this one. As a reminder, let's say we had 2x plus 10y is 30. Solving for y, I would first subtract 2x on both sides. This leaves 10y, negative 2x plus 30. Then I would divide by my coefficient 10. Coming over here, 10 divides 10 to leave y. Negative 2 divided by 10, that's a negative 1/5 x. 30 divided 10 is 3. In the equation y equals negative 1/5 x plus 3, the slope is a negative 1/5, and the y-intercept is 3. Those are all the problems that will be covered on this video. There may be another video, or we may go over the additional problems in class.